There is magic in the air when it comes to college football. You can just see it. It's magic. College football is magic, and there's magic in the air, and you can almost feel it all the way from Tuesday afternoon up until this coming up Saturday. There's magic in the air, and some magic could happen this weekend in college football, kind of like it did last weekend, but a little bit more upped, if you will, this coming up Saturday, October 19th. Third Saturday of October is upon us, our third Saturday of October that we are covering, and it's going to be quite the doozy. So there is magic in college football coming up this Saturday. There's magic in the air. Welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful and chilly Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram, all you got to do is just type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates. You're going to get news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. You will find a Home and About Me page. You'll learn more about me as your podcast host. You can contact me down there below, name, email, comment. I will get back to you on the show or off the show if need be. There's also our platforms page, all the platforms I just mentioned. Go and check them out and see which one's your favorite listening style for the show. And our affiliations page. This brings us to our proud partners of the Beard Club. Guys, if you want a great shave and you want to look good, just get ready to go out and have fun and just look good with your facial hair needs and beard needs. Male counterpart, significant others of your male counterpart, listen up. You're not going to want to miss what I'm telling you now. Beard grooming kits are amazing. A lot of good reviews, 5-star, 20,000 plus 5-star reviews according to Men's Health, the Manual, Bro Bible. A lot of nice reviews coming from those top official sites from the Beard Club. The beard grooming kits and beard growthing kits have vitamins. They have beard oil, beard and face wash, beard balm, combs, boar bristle brush, and more, razors and more. There's also 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner and body wash and loofahs for your body wash needs as well. The Beard Club, just go to my website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There's a affiliations page. Click on the affiliations page, click on the Beard Club logo, and you will go to the Beard Club site. Also, my link tree. It's at the description of this YouTube video down below. Click on that description. Click on the link tree link. It's also on my X bio and my Instagram bio, and you will go to the Beard Club site. The Beard Club, proud partner of Pigskin Frenzy. Thank you for being our partner and just hanging in there with us and being our partner. With the code, it is code Early Bird. The Early Bird holiday sale still going on. 25% off. Code Early Bird. EARLYBIRD. Early Bird. 25% code. 25% off of Beard Club products. Thank you for being our proud partner at the Beard Club. It's what's going to help our facial hair needs and grooming needs be met with the Beard Club. So thank you for being our proud partner of the podcast. College football day today. We're ready to rock and roll. I'm excited, and I'm excited about what happened and what transpired last weekend. I'm happy in what's going to transpire this weekend. A lot of big games coming up that we're covering here for the October 19th slate of games. I'm excited. I'm ready to rock and roll. I was ready to get to work on this show Tuesday when I saw these games this past weekend. I was like, I cannot wait to do Pigskin Frenzy. I cannot wait to get back into the war room. Cannot wait to talk about what transpired and what went down on this past Saturday. So let's recap week 7. We'll go over the AP poll and see where everybody's at. A little reminder. 2 big reminders before we kick off everything. Yes, everyone's asking me about where are the college football playoff frenzy rankings? Where are the Pigskin Frenzy college football playoff rankings? They will be here November 5th. November 5th, the opening day of the actual college football playoff rankings. Our frenzy rankings will be released on that day, on Tuesday, on that day. So we're going to go over it that day. And then that Wednesday, we will start posting them on X and Instagram. So on X and Instagram, we will post those Frenzy rankings, the college football playoff Frenzy rankings, and we will do that until Selection Sunday and go over our last bit of rankings until then for the next month. So our Frenzy rankings will be there, ready to rock and roll with that. And another big thing, you probably are wondering, Joel, you keep saying X and Instagram. Where's Facebook? Well, big announcement there. We are no longer operating on Facebook. No operating on Facebook whatsoever. We are only on X. We are only on Instagram. We're getting a lot of interaction on those. So only on X and Instagram. No Facebook anymore. We are operating on X and Instagram only. Those are the social media channels. Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Same thing with X at Pigskin_Frenzy for X on both channels. So keep on interacting with us on there. Bunch of followers coming in on both social media channels, so thank you for those. And a bunch of followers and listeners coming in for Pigskin Frenzy. 3,800 and counting listeners, about to be at 3,900. Thank you guys for keeping on listening to the podcast. Let's get down to week 7. I just wanted to have those little brief announcements there. Let's get down to week 7, because this week 7 was an absolute doozy. When I say there's magic in the air, there's magic in the air. The third Saturday of October is already upon us. We are already at week 8 of the college ball season, and we're going to get down to it here in a little bit. But let's recap week 7, because this was a great slate of games. It was, I said, October 12th. Don't plan your wedding around October 12th. And guess what? You don't need to plan your wedding around October 12th, because you missed out on some great games. But, I'm not against the marriage. I'm not against marriage, obviously. But I'm just saying, do not plan your games around these type of weekends, because these are some big slate of games coming up in October. October is showing everybody right now who is starting to wake up a little bit. November is where we see who the true contenders are. September is for pretenders. November is where the contenders are. Riding high in September, shooting down in November. I just quoted Frank Sinatra. Anyway, so here we go. Week 7 recap. Let's kick it off with the big game, one of the big games, the Red River rivalry, Texas OU. Going to be a quick recap on this one, because I mean I could explain it, but it was not really a lot to explain. By the way, if you count, I do 8 games a week. All right, 4 NFL, 4 college, and 8 games a week. I was 7-1 in my Pigskin Frenzy picks for both total. 7-1. I only got one wrong, and that was the college game, Oregon and Ohio State. We're going to talk about that one here in a little bit, but I only got one wrong. So went 4-0 in my NFL picks. We'll talk about that Thursday, and we went 3-1 in college picks this week. So 3-1, not bad for college picks for this weekend, especially with that slate of games, because it was kind of hard to cover on those. But let's talk about the Red River rivalry. Let's talk about Texas and talk about OU. Texas has got a big game coming up. Obviously, we're going to cover that game this weekend. So the Red River rivalry, one of the greatest college football rivalries in the history of the sport. Coming to the SEC, this is the first SEC game of the Red River rivalry. The first SEC Red River rivalry game happened. By the way, it wasn't close. It was not close. I said Texas was going to win this game. Thought it was going to be a little bit closer, but it was not close. Final score of this game was Texas 34, Oklahoma 3. 34-3, Texas dominates Oklahoma. It just wasn't close. Texas was all over OU, both sides of the football. Quinn Ewers is back. Golf clap, guys. Golf clap. Quinn Ewers is back. He didn't look good on the first drive, and he made up for it the rest of the game, because he looked great the rest of the game. Had a pick in the first drive. He shook it off quickly. He was like, all right, just got to get the feel back into playing. I missed 2 games. I'm trying to get the feel and the motion back, everything. And he delivered. He had 2 total touchdowns, 199 yards to the air, 20 for 29. The only blemish was that interception on the first drive. Other than that, played really, really well. Was very efficient. They won on third down. Obviously, they were 5 for 13 on third down. They only punted 3 times. They had 5 penalties, which wasn't the best. They can clean that up, but it's all right. They ran the ball well. They had 177 yards on the ground compared to OU's 89. OU could not do anything. They threw the ball well. They ran the ball well. They were all over them on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they were very physical. One of the best defenses in college football is the Longhorns. They match up physically on the line of scrimmage, and it was a line line of scrimmage battle, which OU could not compete with the Longhorns in. It was just a domination game. There was nothing to say other than that Texas just flat out beat Oklahoma down. There's nothing else to say. OU got beat. And listen, there's nothing against OU on that. OU recruits well. OU is 4-2 in college football. They still got some games where they can win on their schedule, and they can, if they keep on winning, and if they can try to get back in it, maybe there's hope. Maybe it's unlikely that they make it to the playoff, but they can make it to a solid bowl game. It's looking like that OU's unranked now. Texas is number 1. It is hard, in my opinion, to go against what Texas is doing right now. Texas is, and let me just face it right now. Everybody, eyes up here, looking into my eyes. I'm looking to the camera. Everybody's looking at me on YouTube. If you're listening to me on Podbean and all audio platforms, listen up. Texas is the best team in college football right now. Shocker, I know. They're the number 1 team for a reason, and they act like they're the number 1 team on both sides of the football. They are physically there. They are quarterback-wise, they are there. Defensively, they are there. Running the ball, they are there. Even though they don't have C.J. Baxter, they are there. They can run the ball quite well. They got this man, and I don't know if you've heard of him, Quintravian Wisner. Wisner is an absolute animal when it comes to running the football. Wisner can run the football like it's nobody's business. Solid running back there. They also got Ryan Wingo at receiver, who can also run the ball as a running back, and he played really, really well at that spot too. 25-yard run from Wingo the other day, and Wingo catching the ball and then running. He can run like a madman. You can line him up as a running back, and he can play really, really well for you. They can run the ball. They got guys. They got depth. And it's going to be a problem for college football to play this team in the conference. They are right now. First year, you have 2 teams entering different conferences, like Oregon, for example. We're going to talk about Oregon here in a little bit. You got Texas, who is entering the conference their first season and is expected to win the conference their first season. I'm going to go from winning the Big 12 last year to joining the SEC and winning the SEC, the top conference in college football, right? Number 1 team in the nation. They're a playoff team. They will make the playoff. I don't care because, listen, win or lose Saturday, they're most likely going to be in Atlanta. Win or lose Saturday, they're most likely going to be in the playoff. Their schedule pans out. Nobody besides maybe Georgia. Georgia's going to be a tough one Saturday. It's at home. That's their advantage, but they're favored in that game. Besides Georgia, who else is better than Texas on their schedule? Nobody. Texas is expected to win the SEC. It's looking like they could. My pick was Georgia in the preseason and Texas number 2. Right now, it is starting to flip. Conference standing projections, be darned right now. I've watched the eye test, and so far, it's looking like Texas could take it. So who knows? Right now, we'll have to see. Final score is 34-3. Texas dominated this game. Let's talk about OU before we move on to the other 3 games. And move on to Penn State USC because we got to talk about that one. OU, 3. No points, but 3 points, only a field goal. Michael Hawkins Jr., he is a quarterback. He is a solid quarterback, but he's a freshman. I've said, and I said it a couple of weeks ago before the Auburn game, I'm not so sure after they lost to Tennessee, I'm not so sure why Jackson Arnold's not in there. I'm trying to figure out what Jackson Arnold did or what he has done so Michael Hawkins can play. And this is nothing against Michael Hawkins. I think Hawkins is a solid quarterback. He's going to be a great quarterback as he develops, but he just needs to develop in the throwing game a lot more. Jackson Arnold could have gotten you more points on the board against this team. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome, but he would have gotten you more points on this game in this game if he would have put Arnold in, and Arnold could have stretched the field down a little bit more. Arnold can launch a football. Hawkins can throw a good ball, but it's not likely than Jackson Arnold. Hawkins just needs to need more developed at making passes more accurate, better decision making. He just needs to develop as a quarterback in general. and that's okay. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there like that. Hawkins is just one of those guys. He was not ready for this game, and it proved. They couldn't run the ball well. Javonte Barnes could not run the ball well, 38 yards. Hawkins had 27 yards on the ground. Taylor Tatum did 17 yards. They couldn't run the ball well. They couldn't throw the ball well. Defensively, they could not hold up against their offense, against Quinn Ewers in that running attack with Wisner. 89 yards. They only had 3.4 yards per play. They were not efficient on third down. It was just domination. And then on the line of scrimmage, they weren't as physical as Texas. So there's really nothing else to say other than OU just wasn't ready for the game. They were not better than Texas this year, and that's okay. It's been kind of split with the Red River rivalry because last year OU won. I covered that game. This year Texas won, and I picked Texas to win that one. So it was just kind of split the past few years. Next year, maybe Texas wins. Texas OU wins. Oklahoma wins. Who knows? Maybe OU wins. Maybe I got it right the first time. Maybe Texas wins again. I don't know, but it's just OU. And listen, the pageantry, the state fair, the Texas State Fair in Dallas, in the Cotton Bowl, all of it was still there. You felt all the feels of this rivalry game. It just wasn't going to be as special this year because of who Texas is this year. They are a dominating force in the conference. They're a dominating force in college football. They're the number one team for a reason. OU's not better than this team this year. And that's not me hating on Brent Venables. I like Brent Venables. He's a solid football coach. But Oklahoma is not better than Texas this year. And that's what this was. Domination. They showed it. Texas is miles ahead right now of OU. That's all you have to say. There's nothing really to say about this game other than that it was flat-out domination. And that's okay. Oklahoma coming up this week. Texas got Georgia. OU got South Carolina at 11:45 coming up Saturday. It is most likely, I would assume, it's on the SEC network, if I'm not mistaken. On the SEC network, OU and South Carolina. South Carolina at Oklahoma on SEC network, I'm assuming, in Norman. So South Carolina 3-3, got to go play OU. South Carolina gave it to Alabama. They can give it to this team. This could be a close game for OU. Watch out in this game. South Carolina, Oklahoma at 12:45 Eastern, 11:45 Central kick in the morning, Saturday morning. South Carolina and OU. Saturday night kick, 7:30, 6:30 Eastern, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central kick, Georgia at Texas Saturday. Final score of this game was 34-3. Texas did defeat OU in the Red River rivalry. Okay, 17 minutes in the episode. We got 3 more games to cover, the AP poll, and then to preview and predict week 8 and talk about the games that we're covering for this weekend. So we got a loaded show. Red River rivalry, solid. Texas won that. Let's talk about Penn State SC, because this is the game I was close to getting wrong. And this game also kind of showed me a little bit that Penn State, to me, and I will explain it, could be the 3rd best team in the conference. And you're going to think 3rd or 4th best team in the conference. You're going to think, are you insane? Listen to me first, and then you will probably agree with me after. So, Penn State, USC. I picked Penn State to win. I picked this game to be close. I was dead wrong. It went into overtime. USC gave it all they had. In the end, Penn State came back, brought them to overtime, and won the game by a field goal. Final score, Penn State 33, USC 30. Penn State defeats USC. USC is 3-3. Penn State is now 6-0, bowl eligible, 6-0, now number 3 in the nation in the rankings. Let's talk about Penn State. Penn State was getting dominated in the first half of that football game, 17-3. Maybe the score didn't show it. But if you want to watch play-wise, they were getting beat in the first half. They couldn't stop the run. First off, they ran the ball, to their best of their ability, 118 yards. They had 400 passing yards. Drew Aller threw the ball well. 518 total yards compared to USC's 409. They gave up 409. They weren't efficient on third down. The penalties were fine. They had good time of possession. They had 3 interceptions. They've turned the ball over 3 times. That's a big gap, and they had to rally back, and it was a good rally from behind victory. They stepped up in the second half. One man that played really, really well, I don't know if you guys know him, but you should know him. His name is Tyler Warren, the superhuman freak of Tyler Warren at tight end. He is an absolute animal. He had a pass for 9 yards that he completed. He had 224 yards and a touchdown for 17 receptions. He also ran the ball for 4 yards. He's an absolute animal. He did a lot Saturday in that win, and they could not stop Tyler Warren. Clutch play after clutch play, Tyler Warren made it happen, and that's what USC's kryptonite was on defense, was Tyler Warren. They could just not stop him at all. So big round of applause, golf clap again for Tyler Warren. Played really, really well. But other than that, they couldn't really get the ground game going. They had 26 yards with Nick Singleton. Katron Allen had 56 yards and a touchdown, which was good. Allard had 391 yards and 3 picks, but he also had 2 touchdowns. Nick Singleton had a receiving touchdown, which was okay. Good for him. 39 yards receiving for Singleton. It was just one of those things that they had to play clutch defense in the second half, and they had to use Tyler Warren a lot to rally back from behind, because it was 17-3. Penn State was in trouble in the first half, and it was looking like, okay, I'm going to be wrong on this pick. But I got it right. Penn State won, but they didn't look like they had that same umph than they did earlier in the part of the season. USC was challenging them, which was good by USC. It showed us a little bit like USC's got some fight in them, and which is good. USC does have some fight. USC did blow it. They let their foot off the gas a little bit, and that's how Penn State came back and remained undefeated in this game. But Penn State has a solid football team. They just need to play better. They need to turn the ball over less. They need to give Tyler Warren some help. I mean, Warren was their guy, but Singleton, Allen, Wallace needs to step up. Julian Fleming played okay, but he needs to step up in the receiving area. They need some guys, and Allard needs to protect the football a lot better. I think those are some things that they got to work on. Just get some more help around Tyler Warren and in the running game, and continue to run the football well, because they had 118 yards. Their best running I saw was against Illinois, and they need to continue to dominate on that aspect. They need to continue to run the ball more. Protect the football, play clean football, help Warren out, and run the ball a lot more efficiently. If you do that and run it effectively, a lot of teams are going to be, having trouble against Penn State. So just run the ball a lot better. That's it. Penn State's got a team. Right now, the way they are playing, I don't really think that they're going to beat Ohio State. I don't know if I see them beating Oregon in the Big Ten championship, even if they make it. I think that, Indiana is fighting for that third spot, because Indiana's undefeated. I see you, Kurt Zanetti. I see you. But Penn State right now could beat Indiana, yes. Could compete with Ohio State, could compete with Oregon, but right now, could they win? That's why I'm thinking right now they're still the third best right now. I think they got to do some other stuff in November to prove to me otherwise, that, hey, this is a Big Ten champion team. This is a playoff team coming in. So let's see. Let's just wait and see. They can still be a playoff team regardless if they lose a game. They have one loss. They can still go to the playoffs. I'm not saying that. But is this a Big Ten title team? I think they're third best right now. By the way I watched Saturday night with Ohio State and Oregon, that's what I saw. So Big Ten right now, they're third right now in my list. So 33-30 was the score. Let's go to USC before we talk about this Oregon-Ohio State game, because I'm going to talk about that one first. LSU, Ole Miss will be last, because we have to talk about that one in a little bit more depth and context. So both of those games will be in context, but you know what I mean. SC, let's talk about their running game, because their running game, they smoked their defense. 189 rushing yards on the ground, 7.1 yards per play. Woody Marks, man, 111 yards, 20 carries. Joyner played really, really well. Quentin Joyner, solid player. He did really, really well. He had 82 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Miller Moss, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Was more efficient. Lemon had 73 yards. Kyron Hudson had a touchdown and 36 yards. Hudson's got a future NFL prospect, in my opinion. He's played really, really well this year. They did good. I think what got them, especially in the second half, is them getting stopped on third down. They did not have good third down efficiency. They did not win on third down a whole lot. They were 2 for 11 on third down. Kind of tough, I think, if you want to be real. They were kind of tough. They lost on third down a little bit, 2 for 11, not the best, but they ran the ball well and they showed some fight. That's what I liked about USC this past weekend. They showed some fight. And they showed some heart. They weren't going to give up. Their defense made some plays. They made some tackles. They made some stops. They kind of let that go in the second half. They kind of blew it in the second half, and Penn State came back. They had them 17-3. If they would have played like they did in the first half, this game probably would have been lopsided and USC would have won. But their defense gave up some big chunk plays in the second half, and I think that's the problem with their defense. Right now, they have a solid defense that can tackle, and they're a lot better than they were under Alex Grinch. Hands down, they were much improved. They just need to quit giving up big chunk plays, and I think that's what cost them the game last weekend in the second half, was their second half play of giving up chunk plays, and they cannot stop Tyler Warren at all. So I think that was their issue there. Other than that, they played really, really good. Their running attack with Woody Marks was great. With Joyner was also great. They have a solid team. They're 3-3. I wouldn't expect them to go the playoffs or any of that. They're out. But if you want to look at the schedule ahead, they could still finish and go to a bowl game and go and win out and go to a solid bowl game. They're 3-3. This weekend they got Maryland. That 4 Eastern, 3 o'clock Central kick. USC at Maryland. Going to Maryland, they're a touchdown favorite against Maryland on the road. They got it's a solid game there. Let's see what happens. Don't take them lightly. Minnesota, you know what happened there, but just don't take them lightly. Other than that, they probably should get the win there. USC's a solid team. They just need to improve in a lot of areas, like letting their foot off the gas and giving up those chunk plays. That was a real rough time in the second half with them giving up chunk plays and winning on third down. They just got to be better, more efficient on third down and not getting stopped on third down. Final score of this game was 33-30. Penn State comes back in overtime to beat USC. Like I said, they had Maryland Saturday. Penn State. Let's see who Penn State's got Saturday. Penn State. This coming up Saturday has nobody. They are on bye. Penn State is on bye. They play Wisconsin next weekend. So Penn State on bye next weekend. They play 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central kick. Penn State at Wisconsin on the road. They could probably win that game. It will most likely be I would think an NBC type game. NBC type game. That's on Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 kick. Penn State at Wisconsin. After the 26th, November 2nd happens, and Ohio State comes rolling in to State College, Pennsylvania. So 33-30, Penn State rallies back from overtime. You already know my thoughts on everything, on why Penn State's the third best team. Let's talk about 2 more games. Before we go to the AP poll and before we go to the preview and predictions, let's talk about Ohio State, Oregon. Game of the week, Ohio State, Oregon. It was 2-3. Oregon was 3, Ohio State 2. Back and forth. I picked Ohio State to win this game. Physical game, back and forth game. Oregon brought the fight. I was wrong about this game. I picked Ohio State to win this game. Oregon got it done at home. Close. Final score of this game was Oregon 32, Ohio State 31. Oregon 32, Ohio State 31. I did think it was going to be close. I think that Oregon was going to be the team to probably bring it to Ohio State, and they were, obviously. But I didn't think they were going to win. And Dan Lanning and company made me eat my words. Oregon right now is numero uno in the Big Ten right now. In their first season, they could have a shot at winning at the Big Ten championship in their first year in the conference. Well, just like Texas in the SEC. Oregon 6-0. Let's talk about them before we go to Ohio State. Oregon played really, really well up front. They were the most physical team that Ohio State has combated this year in football. This game showed that Ohio State hadn't played anybody, and Oregon made them look like, hey, we haven't played anybody until they played us, and that's okay. They just the way the schedule was for Ohio State. Oregon Oregon brought it. Dylan Gabriel brought it. 23 for 34, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. That atmosphere was crazy. Jordan James, 115 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Dylan Gabriel had 3 total touchdowns. He also had 367 yards. I would think it was 373 yards, 373 total yards, 3 total touchdowns Dylan Gabriel had. He played really, really good in this game, and he played like they needed him to win. Evan Stewart played really, really well. 1 touchdown, 149 yards. They couldn't get Evan Stewart. Tez Johnson, 75 yards, touchdown. They were, lights out in this game. Defense played really, really physical. If you want to look at how they did on third down, they managed to move the ball on third down quite well. 6 for 14. They looked really, really good on third down. Yards per play, 7.6. They outgained them in passing and rushing. They played clean football. They played pretty clean football. 3 penalties. Played pretty disciplined. They protected the ball. Ohio State didn't. And that's what it was. I think in those areas, if you look at the team stats compared to Ohio State's team stats, I think that's what got Ohio State. They played more physical up front. They won the line of scrimmage battle. Like I said, they needed to. Oregon started off fast on their drive, which Ohio State did start off fast, but they let Oregon start off fast. That's what kept them in it. Momentum. They did not turn the ball over. They protected the football, which I said it was a big key in this game, and Oregon protected the football. Listen to Pigskin Frenzy, ladies and gentlemen. Just listen to the podcast. They protected the ball. I said they do not need to turn the ball over. They didn't turn the ball over. They had play clean football and disciplined football. Ohio State didn't, and we're going to get to that in a minute, and that's what cost them the game. Ohio State did not. Oregon did. Oregon played physical as well, and that's what got them the win as well. They looked really, really good running the ball. They looked really, really good on the ground running the football. They played smash mouth football. Dan Lanning went in and said, hey, you know what? We're going to line up our guys against your guys, and we can beat you. We can challenge you guys and beat you, and they did. Dan Lanning has recruited well. He has added some depth up front on both sides of the ball, on offense, defense, and special teams, and on the offensive line and defensive line, especially on the O-line, They play blocked really, really well for Jordan James and company and Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, so far, hadn't done it with his feet a whole lot this year, and he did it in this game because of the tremendous blocking by the front offensive line of Oregon. The Ducks were really, really efficient in this game. They are a team that a lot of people have picked to win the national championship for. They are one of the top teams. They're number 2 now in college football in the rankings now, and I believe why they're number 2, because they need to be number 2. They are a solid football team, and they're a team that could compete for a national championship. Not next year, not within the next 3 or 5 years. This year, they can compete. This year, they are a strong football team. The way their schedule pans out, they got Purdue. Do not blindfold yourselves to this game. Purdue played Illinois close. Purdue has nothing to lose. Oregon has to go to West Lafayette, Indiana this Friday night. Friday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox. Friday night on Fox. Oregon at Purdue. Oregon does not need to distract themselves from this game. They're high on this Ohio State win because it was a big marquee win for Dan Lanning in his first season in the Big Ten, and a big marquee win in his career so far. Big win for them. Do not let yourself fall into the trap of Purdue. If you do, we've seen what happened with Alabama Vanderbilt. We've seen what happened with USC Minnesota. Let's watch this game. Be careful. Oregon's got to be focus on the task at hand, respect Purdue, and if they respect Purdue, Oregon will beat this team, and I think they will beat them, and I think that Oregon will win. The rest of the schedule pans out for Oregon. They have Purdue, Illinois. That's going to be a tough game, too. Next Saturday, 3 East, next Saturday on the 26th, or Illinois, Michigan, Maryland, and Wisconsin, and Washington. If they beat Illinois and Michigan and Purdue, they can get past Maryland, they can get past Wisconsin, they can get past Washington. I think, and then they will go to the Big Ten Championship. So let's see. Oregon wins 32-31. Let's talk about Ohio State. Before we talk about this LSU Ole Miss game and the AP poll and previewing predictions, let's talk about Ohio State really fast. What Ohio State did wrong? They weren't disciplined. That was one. 8 penalties. They weren't efficient on third down. 4 for 12. 8 penalties, 70 yards. They turned the ball over when they didn't need to. Critical mistakes at the end, like that run, that Will Howard run for more seconds. Ohio State could have won this game. Now, don't get me wrong. Ohio State is a solid football team, a strong football team, talented football team. Ohio State is still in it. They're still in it for the college football playoff. They're still in it for the national championship race. They're still in it for the Big Ten championship race as well. They're still in it. They're 5-1. They only lost one game. They're a one-loss team. They got the talent, but the critical mistakes that Ryan Day and coaching-wise and the team made was not good on the road. They didn't play anybody up to this point, and it showed. It really did. Iowa was the toughest team they played so far. And that's saying something because they blew Iowa out. We did that game, and it wasn't close. This game was close. Oregon was head and shoulders on their level. Ohio State, 8 penalties, crucial mistakes at the very end. Will Howard, very end, trying to, at the last remaining seconds, trying to find somebody open to get down to the field so they can spike it. He ran the ball and slid as time expired. Total Dak Prescott to San Francisco 40 against total Dak Prescott Cowboys versus San Francisco 49ers playoff game memory, just PTSD flashing in this game right here with Will Howard. But it's okay. Will Howard just wasn't paying attention to the clock management. You got to pay attention to the clock and what you're doing. You would have had to go for a Hail Mary with time management. Time management was a big issue in the later seconds. Penalties were crucial. Jeremiah Smith with the late push off with offensive pass interference. Jeremiah Smith, a big-time, thick, big freshman wide receiver who will play on Sundays in the future. Jeremiah Smith, solid player. He played really, really well in this football game. But when you look at what happened, he made some crucial mistakes with the offensive pass interference. The offensive line made some crucial mistakes up front as well. The defense against Oregon just kind of collapsed the running game and collapsed Will Howard in a lot of areas. That is okay. It happens. It happens when you're playing a team that's just on your level physically. It just showed that they didn't play anybody yet. And that's okay because they still play Oregon close. They played them to a point. Because offensively, they were trading back and forth with Oregon. They were moving the ball down the field well. Judkins was moving the ball down the field well. If you look at the play, two touchdowns, 326 yards, 28 for 35 for Will Howard. He played good. And Henderson, 87 yards. Judkins, 23 yards with a touchdown. Emeka Egbuka had 20 rushing yards. Jeremiah Smith had a touchdown and 100 yards receiving. Egbuka had 93 yards and a touchdown. They looked good. They looked good offensively. They were moving the ball well. Oregon just played a little bit better physically, and that's what got them the win. And late miscues and time management and coaching and late coaching errors for Ohio State got them in this football game. And that's what happened. It happens to the best of us. Let's see where Ohio State comes back and how they bounce back in this. Coming up next for Ohio State, bye week. No game this weekend for Ohio State. They have no game this week. They're on bye, just like Penn State is on bye. And then next Saturday morning, or afternoon, 12 East, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, most likely going to be on Fox. Nebraska comes to Ohio State. Nebraska at Ohio State. Let's see what they do next weekend and how Ohio State responds next weekend against Nebraska. Final score of this game was 32-31. Oregon defeats Ohio State. Both teams look sharp, but Oregon, man, Oregon is in it. That's the Oregon we have been waiting to see. Oregon so far in the early part of this, like in September, didn't look good. Now they're starting to come into their own, and Oregon's looking pretty solid now. Oregon, a strong football team in the conference and in the national championship hunt. 32-31. Oregon gets the win over Ohio State. Ohio State, still a good football team, talented team, not out of it by no means. Let's talk about the last game. Because last week I did this game last. The game before it, I did before this one. We're going to do this one last because we have to. Let's talk about LSU Ole Miss. Covered this game last year. Offensive showcase. Ole Miss won. Last year I picked LSU. This year I said that LSU was going to win this ball game. I said LSU was going to win this ball game. And that LSU, it was at home. Ole Miss hadn't beaten LSU in Death Valley since 2008. I was little last time Ole Miss beat LSU in Death Valley in Baton Rouge. I said that this was a hard spot for Ole Miss to be in. Trey Harris played the first half. He did not play the second. He was injured. The LSU defense was going to be much more improved, I thought, and they were in this game. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. I said that it was a tough spot for Ole Miss to be in. I said that penalties were a big concern. They had to lower them. I said that LSU had to run the ball a little bit and establish the run and try to play really, really good on the secondary. They did play good on the secondary. They did not run the ball well. We're going to get to that. A lot of things I said and factored into this LSU win. I thought LSU was going to do it close. It was going to be a 3-point game, like I said. I thought it was going to be 31-28. I think that's what I said last week. 31-28, LSU beats Ole Miss. I was right about the 3-point spread. I was right about the outcome. Final score was LSU 29, Ole Miss 26, but not the way I thought it was going to turn out. LSU 29, Ole Miss 26 in overtime. Here's a stat that's going to shock everybody. LSU had the lead in this game for 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Pin drop. Ole Miss was beating them the whole game. And when I mean beating them, winning. Who's the better team coming into this game? Ole Miss was the better team coming into this game, of course. No, a lot of people were mixed. A lot of people were picking Ole Miss. A lot of people were picking LSU. It was a rough spot for Ole Miss to be in. 100%. LSU coming off of a bye week. Ole Miss coming off of a loss against Kentucky and a road test against South Carolina, which they dominated against South Carolina. A road test against South Carolina and dominated them. Hadn't had a bye week yet. LSU had a bye week and was still getting beat by Ole Miss the whole game. Let's talk about LSU first, and then we'll talk about Ole Miss. Ole Miss beat themselves in a lot of areas, but let's talk about LSU. LSU's offense did not play good. Garrett Nussmeier was not good in this game. Brian Kelly in the post-game press conference said, yes, he didn't play good, but guess what? He had a lot of learning experience, a lot of learning moments. I agree with that. I think there was a lot of this game was a growth game for him on how to be. He most likely has a couple of years of eligibility left too. So Garrett Nussmeier probably needs to use it soon and needs to come back probably for another year. He's not NFL ready yet. Obviously, he needs to develop more as a quarterback. And tonight, in LSU, it showed. It showed this past weekend. Garrett Nussmeier needs to improve. And this week, this was a growth game for him. Let's look at his stats. If you want to look at Garrett Nussmeier's stats, he was 22 for 51. Ooh, 22 for 51, 337 yards. Yards were good. 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He also made some not so good decisions there. He threw it to Xavier, for example, Xavier Thomas when Aaron Anderson was wide open for a touchdown. Threw it into double coverage to Mason Taylor, tight end, who is probably their best tight end they've ever had. He came in clutch late in the game. Talk about that here in a little bit. Was double covered. He threw it to him when he was double covered, when there was a wide open gap for him to take off. Guess what? Later in the game, he did. He took that wide open gap on the last drive and took off for a first down, and LSU got the first down with Garrett Nussmeier's legs. Nussmeier, low-key, has legs that he can use to scramble and get a first down. He needed 13, he got 14. So he needed that. He can take off with his legs, and he can beat you with his legs if need be. He's improving in that regard. He just needs to improve in better decision-making. This was a growth game for him when it comes to decision-making and performing under pressure. He had pressure on him, and he performed late to the best of its ability. All of a sudden, Garrett Nussmeier in the last drive looked like a Heisman freaking quarterback. He looked like a Heisman Trophy quarterback. Clutch plays. 14-yard scramble for a first down that needed with his legs. Good decision there. And he was working under pressure. We haven't seen Garrett Nussmeier work under pressure a lot, and he passed the test this past Saturday under pressure. It was 23-16. They needed this They needed this badly. They needed it badly. Big chunk play. Offensive line played okay. The defensive line still got to Ole Miss, but Ole Miss in the SEC leads in sacks. 0 sacks by Ole Nussmeier. They did not sack Nussmeier at all. LSU's O-line is solid. LSU has a solid offensive line led by Will Campbell and Emory Jones. Frazier did well. Chester did good. Dillinger did really, really good as well. That O-line is tough, and they showed why they were tough by allowing 0 sacks and protecting the quarterback. So they did really, really good. O-line won a lot of battles against that D-line. We're going to talk about Ole Miss here in a little bit and LSU's defense and how good LSU's defense was in this game. Nussmeier, clutch play to Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor's so good. He's such a good NFL tight end. Give it to him. Round of applause. Another clutch play to Mason Taylor. Again, after that followed. Big 4th down play. Down closer to the red zone. Nussmeier launches it. Touchdown to Aaron Anderson. Ties the ball game. Clutch play to Aaron Anderson. Aaron Anderson is finally coming into his own as a good wide receiver, along with Kyron Lacey. 23-23. Goes to overtime. Ole Miss penalizes a lot. Caden Davis shows that he's got a huge leg on him. Makes it 26-23. They hold him to a field goal. First play in overtime. Drops back. Nice dart to the end zone to Kyron Lacey, and Kyron Lacey catches it. First play, touchdown LSU, and LSU wins in overtime. A walk-off touchdown on the first play in overtime. There's magic in the air in college football, and the Death Valley magic, just like a couple of years back against Alabama in overtime. Walk-off touchdown. Roaring crowd in Death Valley against Ole Miss. LSU needed that win to stay in it. LSU's 5-1. They got a tough schedule ahead, but they remain in it in the college football playoff and the SEC championship hunt. LSU's a sleeper team, but now the eyes are starting to wake up and just see a little bit that LSU's right there. If you squint a little bit, LSU is still in the hunt. Here's who LSU is. Defensively, they rocked this game, by the way. Before I tell you who LSU is, they did this game well, and they rocked this game well. LSU defensively was solid. Whit Weeks was the hero of this game. The hero of this. 18 total tackles. An absolute madman. Was it targeting on Whit Weeks? Yes, it was targeting. He should be missing. He should have missed the rest of the game against Ole Miss. Absolutely. It was targeting. But he didn't. So it's no targeting. I don't believe that. They need to change that. Referees need to be looked at. I've said that the past few weeks now. They need to be looked at right now. So Whit Weeks was a madman in this game. Sacked a couple of sacks on Jackson Dart. 18 total tackles, pressuring. Defense played well. That coaching staff, during the offseason, Matt House and that coaching staff was not good. Brian Kelly cleaned house. Every defensive position needed to be filled, and they filled it. A top defensive coordinator, a top D-line coach, a top defensive back coach, top analyst, top everything, top linebackers coach, top to bottom on defense. They have A+, A- coaches, defensive staff. They have a solid defensive staff, probably one of the best in college football and in the SEC. No joke, they do. And Blake Baker leads that squad, and they played elite level defense this past Saturday. Was it a Hall of Fame worthy performance, or was it, they limited him to 50 yards? No, wasn't. It was a 300-yard less total yard difference than it was last year. They gave up 700-plus yards last year. This year, 400. 300-plus yards difference from last year to this year. Huge improvement. They pressured Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart wasn't able to do a lot of the stuff he was normally able to do. That defense kept them in this game. LSU showed fight. And LSU showed fight on defense. That's a solid defense that LSU's got. Pay attention to LSU's defense because they're only starting to get better. Braden Swidson was solid in that game. Whit Weeks was solid in that game. Savion Jones was solid in that game. Zy Alexander and Ashton Stamps at corner, at secondary. That secondary was going to be a huge test in that game, and they delivered to that test. They played amazing coverage against those wide receivers, Zy Alexander especially. give him the game ball because he played part of the game ball because he played really, really well against Harris, against a lot of those receivers, Watkins, and against Caden Lee in that game. Alexander broke up a lot of passes along with Major Burns and Ashton Stamps in the secondary. Defensively, Whit Weeks was the captain. He was the man. Defensively, they looked really, really solid. Give it up for that LSU defense. That LSU defense is going to be looked at for weeks to come. Watch out for that LSU defense and how good they can become later in this season. They looked really, really like at an elite level this past Saturday. So LSU's defense wasn't the problem. I would be confident in LSU's defense moving forward. Now, they needed that defensive performance. Best defense I've seen from LSU in the past couple of seasons. If they continue to play like that on defense, there's going to be a lot of problems for teams playing LSU in the SEC. Now let's talk about who LSU is. We'll talk about Ole Miss, and then we'll go to the AP poll because we are coming up 50 minutes here on the podcast. So, and do the AP poll and predictions. So let's talk about really quickly who LSU is. LSU, what I saw and what should be scary for, not scary, but should alarm teams. Last season and early part of this year, they showed a lot of quit and okay. Besides South Carolina, they stuck around in South Carolina. And that's what I think that's where they kind of learned it from. It was against South Carolina, but they showed a lot of quit and their heads would be down. Okay, we lost. And it's like, why are y'all down? We can still win this game. Come on. And they wouldn't get back in it and they wouldn't want to win. They didn't have the desire. Something changed. Something flipped. When they came back from South Carolina and won the game, they were like, you know what? We can do this. Regardless if we're down and out, we can rise from the ashes and beat a team. This was a big test Saturday. Ole Miss was coming and coming and coming, and LSU kept punching back, holding in the field goals, making them punt the ball, stopping them on third and fourth downs, turning the ball over on downs. LSU's defense was in it. Greg Penn played really, really well up the middle. Solid defensive effort. Offensively, they kept coming and coming. Even though they weren't good, they kept punching back. And they punched back, and they landed a huge knockout blow in the comeback and won 29-26 in overtime and got the win. They have fight, and they have heart a little bit. They have some heart, and they showed that. So if I'm a team that's playing against LSU, they could be a team that creeps up on you and gets you. So watch out playing LSU right now because LSU could be a team that can creep up on you and have a lot of fight within them. 29-26, that's the final score. Saturday is a huge test for LSU. If LSU does not turn the rearview mirror and look and be deadlocked and focus on this game, they will lose this game. They play Arkansas Saturday. Arkansas Saturday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central kick on ESPN Saturday night at Arkansas in Fayetteville. Arkansas is a solid football team. Arkansas coming off of a bye week after a huge upset win against Tennessee. They're looking to beat LSU and upset LSU and derail LSU's hopes. LSU needs to focus, be at that same confidence level, and compete against Arkansas and be ready for a game Saturday because that's going to be an underrated contest Saturday night. Ole Miss. Let's talk about Ole Miss before we conclude our recap and go to our AP poll quickly. Ole Miss is what cost them this game. Ole Miss cost themselves this game. I think LSU did a lot of mistakes, and don't get me wrong, LSU showed some fight. I talked about it really high and mighty on LSU, but LSU had some bad takes, and I talked about the bad and the good, the bad, and the ugly with LSU. I think Ole Miss probably could have and probably should have pulled this one out, and they did not. They shouldn't have lost that Kentucky game. This game proved that. This game proved that they should not have lost to Kentucky because now it's starting to creep up on them. Oh, man, we got OU next week because Ole Miss is finally gone by. On by. They get a rest. But next Saturday, they at noon Eastern, 11 Central kick, they got to play OU. 5-2. They lost to Kentucky, lost to LSU. They have some losable games. OU is one of them. Georgia is also one of them. They cannot lose again, or they're done for sure. They could be done now, but they're done for sure. 464 total yards is what LSU gave up. A lot better. That defense was tremendously bad. The defense was tremendous. I'm sorry, that offense was tremendously bad. Ole Miss's defense played really, really good. LSU's defense was tremendously bad. That defense for LSU, however, was all over this offense. Trey Harris had some good plays, and LSU had some miscues against Trey Harris, but Trey Harris didn't play the second half. He was out of the second half. He played well in the first half, got a touchdown, and just rested the second half because he felt like he was just hurt. He couldn't do it. He was beat up. 2 turnovers by Ole Miss, and 12 penalties, 110 yards, 12 penalties by Ole Miss in this game. I said minimize the penalties. They did not. Those penalties were costly, and they're still costly for Ole Miss. If they cannot get that corrected, how are they going to beat OU next week? How are they going to beat Georgia? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, honestly. They ran the ball well. LSU did not run the ball well at all. They ran the ball well, 180 yards, passed the ball well. LSU outgained them in passing yards, but they passed the ball well. They ran the ball well. The penalties is what mainly cost them. Offensive line was getting roughed by the defensive line. LSU won the line of scrimmage battle on that side of the ball. Defensive line beat their O-line. I thought that Ole Miss won some battles, but I think majority LSU won the line of scrimmage battle, was much more physical than Ole Miss in this game, and I think that's what cost them. They got to Jackson Dart a lot in this game. If I can look at the sack total, they got 6 sacks on Jackson Dart. 6 sacks. Jackson Dart was on the ground 6 times by LSU's defense. LSU put on a performance on defense that we hadn't seen in a while, and I think defense is what helped him be in it. Ole Miss has got to get better at O-line and protecting Jackson Dart. They got to get better at those penalties because those self-inflicted wounds is what cost them. I think if they protect themselves on that, they will be fine. But Kentucky was a hard loss and tough pill to swallow. This one is definitely a tough pill to swallow, especially since you were winning the whole game. Tough game for Ole Miss. Let's see what Ole Miss does coming in out of the bye week against OU. LSU's got a tough game against Arkansas Saturday. Let's see what they do. Final score was 29-26. LSU defeats Ole Miss in overtime. Ole Miss has got to get better at protecting Jackson Dart, minimizing those penalties, because they honestly could have won if those things would have been settled. Really, they could have won. They were winning the whole game. Ole Miss, going into this game, was the better team. They needed this badly, and they lost it. Tough spot for Ole Miss to be in. That was the recap of the Ole Miss LSU game. Probably spent too much time talking about it, but in depth. But I wanted to talk about it more in depth. Final score was 29-26. LSU defeats Ole Miss in overtime. Walk-off touchdown. That was the Week 7 recap. It was a doozy this past Saturday. Let's talk about the AP poll. Who's 1 through 25. Then we will talk about the Week 8 and what we got coming up Week 8. Previewing predictions in our top games we're covering now. So, number 1 in the AP poll, ladies and gentlemen, Texas is number 1 in the AP poll. After a tough dominating win against OU, they remain number 1. Oregon goes from 3 to 2. Oregon is number 2 after a tough win against Ohio State. Penn State moves to 3 after a tough win and a comeback win against USC. Number 4 is Ohio State after dropping from 2 to 4 after losing a close win against Oregon in a tough game. Number 5 is Georgia after beating Mississippi State. A lot to say about Georgia. Carson Beck needs to play a little bit better, in my opinion. He needs to find that rhythm again. Number 5 is Georgia. Miami, coming off of a bye, is number 6. They got Louisville, and we will talk about that game here in a little bit, as it is one of our Pigskin Frenzy games. Number 7, Alabama, surviving another game against South Carolina. South Carolina brought them to the limit. Bama was doing a lot. Everything they can do to lose that football game. They need to play a little bit better. And Tennessee is coming up. The third Saturday of October is coming up. We're covering our second edition of that game, and we cannot be more excited. Ready for that one. Say hello at number 8 to LSU. LSU has made it to the top 10. They move up 5 spots. They are in the top 10. The playoffs for today, LSU would be in the playoffs currently. Number 8, LSU at number 5. They are 5-1. Number 9 is Iowa State in the Big 12. Iowa State, 6-0, beat West Virginia. They are a team that is solid. They are a team that I can see really, really playing well, and they're doing well, and I believe in them in the Big 12. So I believe in Iowa State coming into the Big 12. They're undefeated. Let's see what Matt Campbell's got for them. Number 9, Iowa State. Number 10 is Clemson, still rolling. They dominated Wake Forest this past Saturday. Number 10, Clemson. Clemson can be a solid football team, in the ACC. My stance is starting to change a little bit from Miami to Clemson from the conference standing projections to now. So let's see. Just looking at the eye test currently. Number 11 is Tennessee. They did not play Florida good. I mean, they were doing a lot that they can do to lose that game, too. Florida blew it late. Tennessee came back late and won the game in overtime. Tennessee defeated Florida at home, but they dropped from 8 to 11. Number 11 is Tennessee after a kind of a not-so-good win against Florida. Number 12 is Notre Dame. They dropped one spot after beating Stanford. Number 13 is BYU. They are 6-0, top of the Big 12 rankings. 6-0 is BYU, still going strong. Number 14, and keep an eye on number 14, Texas A&M. They got some tough competition coming up. I do not think Texas A&M played anybody this past weekend. I think they were on bye. As far as I know, they were on bye. They played Mississippi State this Saturday, and then they got LSU. So tough game. So a tough game against LSU coming up next weekend in College Station. They got to go to Starkville first. Keep an eye on A&M, and let's keep an eye on that, and let's keep an eye on everything there for A&M. Number 14, Texas A&M. Number 15, Boise State at 15. One of the highest graded Group of 5 teams, along with Army and Navy. Number 15, Boise State, Ashton Jeanty. Give that man the Heisman Trophy. He is still my Heisman frontrunner. Best running back in college football, best player in college football. Ashton Jeanty, Heisman frontrunner right now. Hands down. Don't care what conference it's in. Don't care if it's a Group of 5. He needs to win the Heisman Trophy. Number 6, if he keeps playing the way he is, he's going to win the Heisman Trophy and needs to. Number 16, Indiana, 6-0. Who would have thunk that Indiana would be 16? Who would have thought that Indiana would be 16 and 6-0 right now in October? Indiana, number 16, 6-0 in the Big Ten. Indiana, Kirk Cinetti, I see you. I see you. Kansas State, number 17, 5-1. Good win against Colorado in Boulder. Number 18, Ole Miss, after a tough loss to LSU. They are now number 18, 5-2 in the SEC. Number 19, Missouri, after a bounce-back win against UMass. They're 5-1, number 19 in the land. Number 20, Penn State in the ACC. Watch out for Pitt. Pitt. Not Penn State, Pitt. Watch out for Pitt. They played a really good Cal team. They beat a good Cal team. They're 6-0, bowl eligible. Watch out for Pitt in the ACC. Behind Clemson and Miami is Pitt at 20. Watch out for them. They're a solid football team on both sides of the ball. Pat Narduzzi's getting them ready to play. So watch out for Pitt at 6-0. Another team to watch out for in the ACC is SMU, number 21. 5-1, coming off of a bye. SMU, number 21. Watch out for them coming up in the ACC. Number 22, got a solid game against Michigan coming up. Illinois, 5-1. We're covering that game this weekend. Another Illinois game. Who would have thought Pigskin Frenzy covering more Illinois games? But we are. Number 22, Illinois, 5-1. They move up a spot in the rankings. Number 23, say hello for the first time since 1945. In 1945, Army, 23 in the American Conference. Army is 6-0. Bryson Daly is playing lights out for this team. This offense is electric. Army is 6-0, bowl eligible, and leading in the group in the American Conference and Group of 5 conference along with Navy. They could be playing each other in the American Conference championship game and next week in the classic Army-Navy game. So that could be something to watch out for Pigskin Frenzy. 6-0, Army is 23. Number 24 is Michigan at 4-2, and they play Illinois Saturday. And number 25, Navy. Navy is 5-0 in the American Athletic Conference. They are ranked for the first time since 1945 in the AP poll. That is the AP poll for this week. And let's move on to the Week 8 preview and predictions. for this week for Pigskin Frenzy. Our Pigskin Frenzy preview and predictions and our picks for this weekend of the games that we are covering. Week 8 is upon us. Here we go. I'm so excited about this slate of games coming up this weekend. So, coming up, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on ESPN, most likely. Kick, early game. Miami at Louisville. You're thinking you're covering another Louisville game. Yes, but just hear me out. Miami at Louisville. Miami coming off of a bye after that Cal game. Louisville coming off of a tough win against Virginia. They're 4-2. Something's got to give here. Let's see if Louisville can keep up that momentum. Let's see if Miami, with a week's worth of rest, can get back away in momentum and get back to where they were in the first part of the year, because they kind of dipped a little bit in their performance. Let's see how they do in this game. Miami's keys are pretty simple. Number 1, minimize the penalties. 9 penalties for 110 yards last game against Cal. Don't do that. Don't do that. Minimize the penalties. Those are touchdowns. Minimize the penalties. Start good, start fast, play disciplined football, and you should win this game handily, I would assume. Number 2, force turnovers. If Tyler Show can turn the ball over, easy money there. Miami can get the ball and get some turnovers under their belt, and they can get a big victory here with turnovers. Number 3, establish the running game with Damian Martinez. Let Martinez run the rock. Let him run the ball effectively. Louisville will have trouble stopping it. If they have trouble stopping it, it could be one of those things where, Louisville doesn't have an answer. So those are the 3 keys for Miami, and let's see if they can establish those coming up against Louisville. Louisville's keys are pretty simple. Number 1, protect the football. Don't throw a pick. Don't fumble it. Protect the football, and you should be fine, and you should be good and play clean football. Number 2, win the third down battle. I keep saying this about Louisville. Louisville has to be better at third downs. You have to win third downs, keep that defense on the field, turn it and capitalize it into points, and you should be fine. Ja'Cory Brooks is one of y'all's go-to guys, and you can go with him on third down, and he's hard to stop. So win those third down battles, and you should be A-okay. That's number 2. Number 3, win the time of possession battle. If you keep the time of possession going in your favor, do not let Miami get the ball as much on offense, then Louisville will upset and win this game at home against Miami, and Miami will lose it this game. Win the time of possession battle. Those are the keys for Louisville. That was the key for Miami earlier. Who do I have winning this ball game? I think at first it will be close. I think the week's worth of rest was worth it for Miami. I think that Miami will run away with this game. I think Miami's on a different level than Louisville right now. Give me Miami to defeat Louisville. I think they run away with it late. I think by a score of 38-24. Miami 38, Louisville 24. I think Louisville will compete with them in probably around mid-third quarter, but around mid to late third, going into the fourth. Throughout the fourth, Miami will run away with it. Miami 38, Louisville 24. Miami goes to 7-0. Louisville goes to 4-3. Miami gets the win over Louisville this Saturday. Coming up next, Michigan at Illinois, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. Most likely going to be a CBS game in the Big Ten. Michigan at Illinois. Michigan's 4-2. Illinois is 5-1. Something's got to give here. Another Illinois game. I'm excited about covering this one. I'm ready for this game. Michigan's keys are pretty simple. Establish the run game with Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullings. Currently in college football in rushing defense, Illinois is 61st in college football in rushing defense in FBS right now. Not the best. They had trouble stopping the run a little bit against Purdue, a little bit and a lot of bit against Penn State. If Michigan can do what Penn State did against Illinois, solid game and solid game plan for Michigan. Michigan can come away with a huge win there. Number 2, win the line of scrimmage battle. Be tough, be more physical than Illinois on both sides of the ball. And if so, Michigan has it on the road. Number 3, force turnovers. Get Luke Altmaier to fumble, throw picks, turn the ball over, and force some turnovers out of the Illini in this game. I think that if you force some turnovers in this game, you should be fine in this one. I got full confidence in the Michigan defense to do this. So if they do this, everything should be fine for Illinois. So that's the Michigan keys. Illinois keys are pretty simple. Number one, slow the running game down against Michigan. They're currently 38th in rushing offense in college football. It's not great, but it's not bad either. Michigan ran the ball well against USC, and Illinois had trouble stopping Penn State's rushing offense. So if Michigan can run the ball with those two running backs and get it running effectively, it's going to be a hard day in the office for Illinois. They got to slow that running game down. They got to slow it down. Let's see if they can do it. Slow it down. 38th currently in rushing offense in college football. Number two, win the line of scrimmage battle. If you win the line of scrimmage battle and it's just as physical as you're just as physical as they are, or even more, you should get this win. I think it's going to be tough, very tough game, but you should get the win if you're just as physical as they are. Win the line of scrimmage battle. I think you can do it. If you can try to, and if you were tough, you can get the win here if you were just as physical as they are. Number three, force turnovers. Force turnovers in this game. Run the ball, capitalize on those turnovers and turn them into points. If Michigan can fumble or throw picks, capitalize on those turnovers. Back and forth game, I think this is going to be. It's going to be a very interesting game. I was conflicted. I thought, in my head, I was thinking Michigan's going to win this game, going into this game. Who do I have winning this ball game, however? Conflicted, back and forth. I think it's going to be a tough environment. I think it's going to be a home crowd environment. I think the run is going to could be effective. I think Michigan is going to do their best. I think Illinois is going to do their best. I think Illinois is going to slow it down just a little bit to win this game. Give me the Illini. I think Illinois wins. Illinois upsets Michigan at home, gets the win, and beats Michigan 24-17. Illinois 24, Michigan 17. They get the upset. Another upset from Michigan, 24-17 against Michigan. Illinois beats the defending national champs. Illinois beats Michigan 24-17. Illinois wins and pulls off the upset Saturday. Illinois goes to 6-1. Michigan goes to 4-3. Illinois gets the upset, and Illinois gets the win here. Maybe wrong. It's a risky pick, but I'm going to go with Illinois in this one. Two more games. We'll conclude today's episode of Pigskin Frenzy. Alabama at Tennessee, the third Saturday of October. A fan against Tennessee keeps sending me, hey, man, you're going to need to learn the lyrics to Rocky Top. And I've been hearing it. Every time I open up that link, it'd go, din, 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 and, and it starts going, and you hear it on the mic, and, no, Rocky Top, you'll always be, and Saturday, if Alabama didn't play better, it really could be for Tennessee home sweet home to them. And we got to worry. That's something that we got to worry about. But Tennessee needs to get back into some sort of groove. Arkansas, they've dipped in performance a little bit. Oklahoma, you started seeing a little bit of shades of it. Arkansas for sure. Florida, they've dipped a little bit against Tennessee has performance-wise. They need to get back into that groove. So does Alabama. Who picks their momentum back up and carries it in throughout the season? Third Saturday of October, Alabama at Tennessee. Bama's a slight favorite. Both of them 5-1. Something's got to give. 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central kick on SEC on ABC Saturday afternoon. Alabama's keys are simple. Bama's keys, they got to start off fast. They got to start off fast, white hot, and don't let their foot off the gas. Play like you did against Georgia in that first half, but play like you did overall the whole game, like you did against Georgia in that first half. Play like that, and you should win this ball game. Number two, minimize the penalties. Do not shoot yourself in the foot with these penalties. You keep committing penalties. You keep driving yourself back and keep digging yourself into a hole. And these games, you can dig yourselves into holes, and you don't want that. So just let the penalties be good. Minimize the penalties, and you should be fine. Minimize the penalties. Number three, protect the football. If you protect the football, everything's going to be good. Do not throw picks. Jalen Milroe's been throwing picks and fumbling. Do not throw picks. Do not fumble the ball. Protect the football, and that should be good. Here's the key here. Side note, and this is force Nico Amaliava into deep waters. If you force him into deep waters in this game, that's a side note for me for Alabama. If you can force him into some deep waters, get him in some waters and let him miss on some drives like he has been in the past few weeks, that's another win for you guys in Neyland Stadium Saturday afternoon. So that's some good keys there for Bama. Let's go with Tennessee's keys. Number one, win the time of possession battle. Keep Bama's do what Vandy did, keep Bama's offense off the field, score and capitalize on those drives, and keep Bama's offense off the field as much as you can. Win the time of possession battle in this game. Number 2, find a way to rattle Jalen Milroe. If you can get Jalen Milroe to throw some picks, stop him on 4th down, get some sacks, rattle him a little bit. This game could be your guys. Get that Tennessee defense to step up, and you should be fine. Tennessee's defense currently is, I think, 2 in the league in college football now. Number 3, big one here, contain Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams is explosive. Jalen Milroe is explosive with Ryan Williams. Contain him in the secondary. Slow him down. Make him do not let him be an X factor in this game. Turn him away. Contain Ryan Williams in this game. If you do that, you should be fine in this ball game. Who do I have winning this ball game? I think it's going to be back and forth. I think Bama's defense comes alive late and does enough and forces Nico Amaliava into some deep waters here. I like Bama close in this game. I think Bama can bounce back. Well, it's just got to see first, but if they don't and they can turn this game away, it's going to be ugly. I don't know, but I think Bama wins this game close. Bama gets it done. I think it's going to be a 28-21 game. Alabama 28, Tennessee 21. I like Alabama winning on the road and coming away with a win here late. So 28-21, Alabama defeats Tennessee in the 3rd Saturday of October in this game. Alabama comes away with a win over Tennessee. Last but not least, we're going to cover this one late. 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, Saturday Night Football on SEC on ABC. Georgia at Texas, top 5 matchup. Probably game of the year, and we've been waiting for this one. This is the equivalent to Ohio State and Oregon in the SEC. Biggest game of the year up to date. It was Ohio State, Oregon. It just gets better, right? Georgia at Texas, possibly game of the year on October 19th. Packed crowd and sold-out crowd Saturday night in Austin. Going to be electric in Austin. You think Tuscaloosa was electric for Georgia? Get ready for Austin Saturday night. That's going to be tough. Can Georgia be Georgia in this game? Can they do it? Can they bounce back, forget everything that happened against Tuscaloosa and respond against Auburn and State? Can they show up late? Can Carson Beck play like he did last year and earlier this season? Can he show up? Let's see. Texas, can they continue that way of momentum? Can they out-physical Georgia? And can they continue that way of momentum and continue to look like the best team in the college football right now? Let's see. Georgia's 5-1. Texas is 6-0. Here we go. Georgia's keys are pretty simple. Number 1, protect the football. Protect the football. 5 interceptions and 1 fumble in the last 3 games for Carson Beck. You have to play better. You have to play better and protect the football. Carson Beck has got to find some open guys. They got to help him out. He's got to help himself out by protecting the football, playing clean football, and watching out and holding on to the football. That's number 1 for Georgia. Do not turn the ball over. Run the ball effectively is number 2. Season's best as a team versus Tennessee Tech was 166 total rushing yards. That was week 2 against Tennessee Tech. They have not rushed the ball past that this season. So if they can run the ball effectively with Etienne and Robinson, they can get it done. They have to run the ball effectively against this solid defense, though. Run the ball effectively against this team Saturday night. Number 3, win the line of scrimmage battle. You got to be more physical than they are on both sides of the ball. And if you can do that and win the line of scrimmage battle, that's a good win for Georgia in this ball game. Texas keys are pretty simple. Number 1, force turnovers. Like I said, 5 interceptions and 1 fumble in the last 3 games for Carson Beck. If he can do that and Texas defense gets some turnovers, it's going to spell disaster for Georgia quickly, and it's a huge win for Texas in this game. Number 2, win the line of scrimmage battle. You got to be just as physical as Georgia, be more physical than Georgia, and that's how you're going to get your win on the front on both sides of the ball for this team. Number 3, win on 3rd down. Currently, Texas is 9th in college football and 3rd down conversion rate in FBS. Win on 3rd down. Top 10 3rd down team in FBS. That's solid. If you can win on 3rd down, keep drives going, and capitalize on those drives, going to be a long night for Georgia's defense in this ball game. Those are Texas's keys. That was Georgia's keys. Who do I have winning this ball game? Going to be back and forth, going to be close. Give me, in this game, I was leaning towards Georgia early. Georgia has a little bit dipped, just a tiny bit. The eye test has been favoring Texas for me on Pigskin. The eye test for me and the eye model for us has Texas. Right now, the script has flipped. I had Texas at 2, Georgia at 1 in the conference standing projections. Right now, it is flipped. Right now, give me Texas to win this game. Texas wins close Saturday night. Texas defeats Georgia by a score of 34-31. Texas 34, Georgia 31. Georgia loses their second game. Tough loss against Texas. They play them next year, which is going to be great and solid in Athens, but 34-31. Texas 34, Georgia 31. Texas goes to 7-0. Georgia goes to 5-2. And Texas gets a win, a massive home win en route to competing for a title in Atlanta, or a SEC title in Atlanta this season. So 7-0 Texas, Georgia 5-2. Texas defeats Georgia and gets the win at home. So Texas gets the win against Georgia at home. That is our Week 8 preview and predictions. That just about does it for Pigskin Frenzy. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram, just type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates. You're going to get news and highlights from across college and NFL football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question, as well as all things of today for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, just check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Thank you to our proud partner at the Beard Club. We will be back Thursday for our latest NFL edition of Pigskin Frenzy. We're going to recap Week 6 and preview and predict the top matchups of Week 7 and see who's in and who's out with the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. Tough break this past Sunday. We'll tell you what we're talking about on Thursday. And until Thursday's NFL edition of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you then. For everybody out there, please and always stay the course.